Hey hello everybody, it's Untitled here, and as some of you might know, I'm a big fan of Library of Ruina, a fun RPG card game with some pretty deep lore as well as cool characters. And with the Risk of Ruina mod, some contents of that game have been brought over to Risk of Ruina 2. Today we'll take a look at all the new items in this mod and how they are connected with their game of origin, Library of Ruina. Without further ado, let's jump into Risk of Ruina's items. We'll start by going over every item in this mod. I'll cover their effect and in-game viability, and then I'll explain why the item has that ability and what it meant originally in Library of Ruina. That does mean getting into spoilers for the game, so if you're interested in trying Library of Ruina blind, you might want to click off this video. Starting with the only white item in the mod, we have Black Tea. Its effect is as follows: grants 10% plus 5% per stack, chance to apply fairy on hit. Black Tea is similar to Tri-Tip Dagger in its concept. It gives you a chance to apply the fairy debuff whenever you hit an enemy. The fairy debuff deals 100% of your base damage per stack to an enemy whenever they attack. The reason for diminishing returns on the item with an increase of only 5% per stack is unknown. However, in my experience, fairy does seem to deal more than 100% per stack on some occasions, so there might be more at play than we see. The cup of black tea is a reference to the fact that Bina, the only character with access to fairy in Library of Ruina, is often seen drinking black tea. The notes of the item are a direct reference to a quote by Bina. It is because of the palpable agony of the tea leaf infused in each cup that she says when asked about the flavor of black tea. Next we have the first green item of the mod, the Liu badge. Its effect is described as: grants 10% plus 5% per stack base damage for each stage you have cleared. Liu badge is on the stronger side of the item spectrum. With every stage cleared, your base damage goes up, making the item extremely potent in longer runs. One stack of this item gives you 30% more damage after finishing your first loop, which is a very valuable upgrade. Lore-wise, the item refers to the Liu association from Library of Ruina. The characters affiliated with it usually have abilities that become stronger as the fight progresses, similar to the effect of the Liu badge in Risk of Ruina. Next up we have the Prescript. Here's its ability: grants 1% plus 1% per stack base damage for every unique item you possess. This is once again an item that increases in power with the length of the run. As you gain more items, you become even stronger. However, 1% is a fairly low amount even for something that is easy to support, so you may want to avoid playing into this item and instead print your items into stronger ones. In the Vault of Library of Ruina, prescripts are given out by the Index Syndicate and contain tasks that the receivers must complete within a day. The notes of this item contain the contents of a prescript, with the receiver and task mentioned. The item's model itself is a reference to the song Children of the City by Millie, which is the theme of Yan, the messenger of the Index. Its ability is also a reference, as the Index possesses cards that can be improved by only having unique cards in your deck. Next up we have the Arbiter Mask. The item description is as follows: gain 5 plus 5 per stack armor for 5 seconds each time you're hit. Arbiter Mask is a pretty bad item all things considered. Its buff is insignificant and its way of proccing is extremely dangerous. The item is most likely supposed to work as a safeguard against getting comboed, or as a counter to laser attacks. However, it fails at both, as 5 armor makes no difference. 5 armor equates to about 5% damage reduction, which is almost nothing. And with how armor is calculated, each new stack is less effective than the last. 2 stacks only grant 9% reduction instead of 10, 4 stacks only 16%, 10 stacks only 33%, and so on. In Library of Ruina, the Arbiter is an organization of people wearing masks similar to the item. Their in-game abilities are focused primarily on defense after getting hit, hence the effect. Up next is the Wedding Ring. Its effect is as follows: deal 10% plus 5% per stack more damage for each stack of this item that nearby allies have. Due to their reliance on other players with this item, the Wedding Ring is a multiplayer exclusive. There is no point in picking up the item in single player, and you'd be better off scrapping it as soon as possible. Lore-wise, the Wedding Ring is likely a reference to Angelica and her necklace. It's weird that the item is called the Wedding Ring, however the author of the mod might have interpreted the necklace as a wedding ring Angelica wears on a chain. Last but not least, we have Workshop Ammunition, the final green item of Risk of Ruina. Its description is as follows: deal up to 25% plus 10% per stack, more damage based on how far away you are from your target, minimum 10 meters distance. This item serves as a counterpart to the Focus Crystal for the ranged characters, and bears a higher rarity and weirdly enough lower bonuses. While it's true that Workshop Ammunition's first stack is far more powerful than Focus Crystal, its scaling quickly falls off behind its counterpart. Still, that extra damage is a welcome bonus for ranged characters. In the world of Library of Ruina, many workshops produce a weaponry that is used by offices, associations and syndicates alike. However, guns and ammunition are rare to find, due to the enormous price of touch items. Thus, workshop ammunition is a green rarity item, despite its effect being similar to that of a white item. Now let's move on to the legendary, or red, category of items. The first of two available red items in the mod is an Arbiter Trophy. Its description says, grants 1% plus 1% per stack, chance to lock enemies on hit. This item, similarly to Black Tea, is a way for other characters to use the Arbiter's unique debuffs. Lock is a powerful debuff that prohibits the enemy from doing anything. They cannot move or attack when under the effect of lock, making them easy prey. Obviously, such an insane ability must be balanced in some way. And the way to balance an Arbiter's Trophy is its proc chance. 1% is highly unlikely to trigger often, if at all, making this item viable only on fast shooting characters like Commando or at higher stacks with Clovers. Lore-wise, the item refers to a crucial event in the story of the prequel of Library of Ruina, Lobotomy Corporation. In that game, a battle to the death broke out between an Arbiter and the Red Mist, resulting in the Arbiter ripping off an arm of the Red Mist to keep as a trophy. And while the result of that battle is irrelevant to the mod, an Arbiter's Trophy is an item that is thematically connected with Bina, aka the Arbiter, which is why it gives you the ability to use her powers. Next up we have the second and last red item of the mod, Reverberation. Its effect is as follows. All of your attacks reflect projectiles. Reflection range increases with stacks. The item allows you to reflect any enemy projectile with the hitboxes of your attacks. With most stacks, the reflection range extends beyond the hitbox, allowing for area of effect protection. The item is a fairly useful defense mechanism. However, the attacks that are most devastating in Risk of Ruina 2 are usually hitscan lasers that aren't reflected by reverberation, or melee attacks that obviously are also unaffected. The item itself refers to Argalia's size, that uses to reflect bullets in combat, gaining the reverberation passive ability, that grants him immunity to ranged attacks, hence the name and ability of the item. Next up we have the last item of the mod, which is actually a lunar equipment, the Backwards Cloak. Here is the description of the Backwards Cloak. Sacrifice yourself to resurrect all allies. Destroy it on use. Once again, much like Wedding Ring, Backwards Cloak is a multiplayer only item. In single player it simply is a suicide button. Interestingly enough, I've never seen the item show up at the Lunar Bazaar, even after many rerolls, so it might actually be multiplayer exclusive. Lore-wise, the Backwards Cloak is an abnormality from Lobotomy Corporation, the prequel to Library of Ruina. In that game you could wind up the cloak with a high-level agent, saving the state of your other agents at the time. When used again, the user dies, bringing his allies back to the safe state. It's usually used to resurrect agents after a tough battle, hence its ability. And that's it for the items of Risk of Ruina. All of them are fun and interesting, and I highly recommend you to check the mod out. In a couple of days I will post a guide to the 2 new characters added in this mod, so if you're interested, please subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, consider leaving a comment below, those are greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching and I'll see you around. Goodbye!